Welcome to the EdTech Throwdown. Join us, Eric Guise and Nick Johnson, as we dive into today's best EdTech tools, tips, and practices. We do the research so you can teach your class. Remember to follow us on social media like Instagram, X, or Facebook by looking for the handle @EdTech Throwdown. Now please enjoy the show.
Welcome to the EdTech Throwdown. This is episode 208 called 10 More Canva Apps for Teachers. In this episode, we'll revisit the exciting world of Canva apps and deliver some old favorites as well as some exciting new finds. This is another episode you don't want to miss. Check it out.
All right, we are back, episode 208. This episode has just been inspired by the fact that we have a lunch and learn this week and coming up. And the teachers wanted to know what new Canva apps are out there. So Nick and I spent most of the morning earlier this week, I believe it was Tuesday, on gathering Canva apps that we like. And we tried to make these different than the ones that we've done in the past. So during this episode, you're going to get the names of a couple from the past, and you'll also get names from ones that we're using now. So we kept 4 on the list from I believe we did a show last year.
I think so.
There were 10 in that show, and there are 10 in this show, but we kept 4 from last year because these are the ones that we use all the time, and we find that staff are not utilizing these 4 enough.
Yeah, and if you are listening to this episode and you don't know, Canva has apps. You can find those apps by going to the menu on the left-hand side, scroll to the bottom and click on apps. And a lot of those apps are developed by Canva for things like audio and video, and they have a graphing app and all kinds of unique stuff. But then there's third-party ones too, much like your cell phone has an app store. Canva has the same. Except obviously everything is designed to help with your Canva designs. And there's just tons of really cool stuff, things that you might not have otherwise thought Canva can do. It actually can do because there's a third-party app for it. So we're going to keep the intro short and get straight into it because I know both of us have this weird lingering cold, and I'm not sure how long our voices are going to hold out before we start sounding like grizzled, even older men than we already are. So we're going to pause as we do for a word from the Teach Better Podcast Network. And when we come back, let's talk about these Canva apps.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. You can find out more at teachbetter.com/podcasts. Now let's get back to the episode.
All right, so we are back, and I'll get it started with the first one because it's pretty simple and it doesn't take much explanation. And that is a QR code generator directly in Canva. Yes, you can make QR codes in Chrome. However, if you're working within a Canva design, it might be faster to have a QR code app queued up and ready to roll. So those QR codes get inserted directly into the design also. Maybe you want your QR codes to not look like the Google Chrome QR codes. They have that little dinosaur guy that goes on the inside. Maybe you're not looking for that. That might be another reason to head to a specific QR code generator like this. So what it does is very simple, but we just think it's worth sharing at the top of the episode just because of how common it is for people and teachers included in that to make these QR codes. They're everywhere, and Canva has an app to help you do it really, really quickly.
Yeah, Canva has several apps for the QR code. Some of them give you more customization than others. For me, I just need a plain Jane QR code maker. I use these all the time when I design my Escape the Rooms and other projects like that. I use them a lot for creative projects, for flyers, for clubs, things like that. And I just need a quick QR code. So Canva will add them instantly to your projects and allow you to resize them to best fit the design that you want to make. All right, I'll get into mine. This next one is pretty cool, and a former guest and also tech coach from our district, Dana Heller. She brought this one to our attention. Have you ever wanted to take a huge poster and print them out on 8 by 10 pieces of paper? Now, I don't mean making the poster smaller. I just mean you're going to make a file that has several 8 by 10 sheets of paper that you can tape together or whatever to make a big poster. If that is something that interests you, there's an app called Image Divide that you could use. So picture Mount Rushmore. It's a big 24 by 24 inch poster. I should really make it like 25 and a half by 33.
Sure.
Just so it, or by 66 or whatever, just to make it fit the size dimension for what we need. All right, so say we want to make this Mount Rushmore be covered by 8 pieces of paper, or 9 pieces of paper. You can set that in Image Divide, and what it's going to do is it's going to print out that Mount Rushmore, and each 8.5 by 11 is going to be a different part of that Mount Rushmore. All right, this might be cool to make a little puzzle for the kids to start, so they have to put together these sheets, and maybe that gives them a formula, or that gives them a scientific property or a graph that they then label, like an anatomy drawing that they then have to label the parts of the body or something like that. But also it's good because say that you have a laminator. Okay, you have a laminator that's 24 inches wide, and I'm only using this because what I did is I cut the poster in half manually by eyeballing it. But if it was printed out on 2 separate pieces of paper or 4 separate pieces of paper, then I can laminate it and then put it together later on. So, right. I mean, Image Divide will work to fit your needs there.
Yeah, that's a cool one because that's a thing that comes up for teachers a surprising amount these days. So good to know. This next one is maybe, I don't know if it's the most helpful, but we see this come up so often, both with teachers and administrative staff at schools. And it's called bulk create. And what can happen here is if you picture maybe something common in schools like printing certificates, where you might be in Canva and you've got a design of a certificate for a set of awards, you can design that thing one time. And rather than duplicate it and type in each kid's name individually, you just make the original design. You designate the text box where you want the bulk create action to go into. So for example, it would be, if we're doing certificates, the only thing that changes from one cert to the next is the name, right? The kid's name. So you'll designate that text box where the name goes. And then all you do, I think, is import like a CSV file. So like a spreadsheet that has the list of names of winners, and Canva will automatically populate whatever's in each cell on the spreadsheet into that text box that you designated. So you'll make your certificate design once, and then Canva will auto-generate 100 different duplicates of that with each kid's name. So I used certificates as an example. This could be for if you've got secretaries printing envelopes, right? They could have a design with the envelope print and bulk create all the different addresses that go in there. I'm certain they have the addresses in a spreadsheet already, so it should be pretty seamless. And this is very, very helpful. I know we show people this all the time. If you're doing any kind of work with clubs or event programming at your school, there's lots of need for this. People are trying to use different Microsoft versions all the time and running into issues, or mail merge and whatever your email platform is and running into issues. But we've had excellent success with this app called Bulk Create. So that is one that we actually have talked about before, but we felt like we definitely needed to bring it up again today for sure.
Yeah, with Bulk Create, that's a game changer. I just worked with someone from our school who does all the National Honor Society certificates, and she's still using mail merge from Word. And I find that to be super clunky, and it takes a long time when you have to populate 130 different certificates. But I will tell you this, transforming that over to Canva has saved a lot of time in the long run, because if you have to make any changes, it's a lot easier to reformat and recreate those images than it is to run that mail merge again in Word, in my opinion. So that's a solid one. The next one is going to be Jigsaw Puzzler, or Puzzle Maker. Let me make sure that I have that correct. It is called, I'm uploading as we speak, I'm uploading the presentation to the show notes. The Jigsaw Puzzle app, what that will allow you to do is it will allow you to pick how many puzzle pieces that you want, and it will make a PNG file of that puzzle. So if you want a 5x5 puzzle, so 25 pieces, it will create the outlines for those, which you could lay over top of your image in Canva, and then you would have it so you can cut out those puzzle pieces. Once again, this is something I use in my escape the rooms. I use it in other places too. I just find that students like this type of thing as a little warm-up before they get into it, because a lot of my classes love competition. There are a couple kids in each class that do not like competition, and usually what I do is I put them in the same group, or I just tell them, go at your own pace. You don't need to be a part of the competition if you don't want to be, but Jigsaw Puzzle app is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a good one for that gamification aspect of something you're doing in class. Another one of the old ones is an image upscaler, where if you have images that are blurry and you want to make them clear, maybe you've found something on Google Image, I don't know, like that's been copied in from an old textbook, and the size of the picture is very small. So when you expand it up inside of Canva, it gets super blurry, and it's just not going to work for what you need it for. If that happens to you, then you're going to hopefully remember that there's a Canva app called Image Upscaler. And that's what it's going to let you do. It's going to take that image, it looks at the individual pixels that are making it blurry, and it tries to guess at how to clean those up so that it looks crystal clear. We tried this with an image of a bald eagle, and it really does a good job. And actually, since the last time that we did a Canva Apps episode, it seems to have gotten better, because, man, this thing came out just like really clean looking. It's not perfect, so don't expect the world here, but if you literally cannot find an alternative to your blurry image, then there's no point in not using the image upscaler to try to make it better. I know I used this recently for like a scientific model that I wanted to put in a test, but it was just too crummy looking, so I ran it through there, got clear enough where it was okay to make copies of, and it just worked great. So this is another one we share with teachers here at our school all the time, and that's why we brought it back for today's episode as well.
Yeah, that's another solid choice there. I use that one a lot as well. I'll go into my next one. This one is called Image Recolor. Image Recolor is basically exactly what it sounds like. If you think old school Photoshop before all the AI and all that good stuff, and you had a car that was blue and you wanted to make it lime green, you could do that in Photoshop, but in Canva there was no really easy way to do that. Now, if you want a lime green car, well, go make a lime green car. It's as simple as a couple of clicks. So you click on the Image Recolor. The second thing that you do is you click the color that you want, the new color that you want, and then voila, it's going to make a lime green car. It's really that easy. That is called Image Recolor. So Nick, before we go further, we have QR code. We did that one. We did Image Divide, Bulk Creator, Image Upscaler, Jigsaw Puzzle, and Image Recolor. All right, so we have a couple more here. Which one are you going to take? Because I started jotting them down and I changed the order and everything. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear on which ones we did.
Yeah, that's cool. I was talking video effects next, if that's good with you.
Yeah, maybe lump that in with Animator because they kind of do the same thing.
Okay, that's a good idea. So there's two of these here, and this is pretty cool. If you have a static image, like just a typical picture file, you can pull that into Canva, or actually at least in video effects, you don't even have to bring it into Canva. You just leave it on your desktop. But you're going to start a design in Canva, search for this app called Video Effects, and then you can upload this picture, and it's going to basically turn it into like this little prefabricated video using whatever the picture is of. So I tested this with a picture of myself, and it kind of has this like weird effect where it fades me in as I'm outlined with like this green glowy stuff, almost like I am glowing. You get to choose a background too, and then it has like this shimmery green sort of outline, my head and then my shoulders and stuff, and it was cool. So if you have something like, say the students are working on a video project and they're looking for a way to maybe enhance some of the pictures that are in there, make it more visually interesting, check out Video Effects to see the types of things that it can do. Now, there's not a lot of them. There's only like 3 or 4 different effects that this one can run. So you're going to want to see like what they are to know if this is worth recommending. But then if that doesn't work, we did find 2. So there's a second one called Animator, which essentially does the same thing. Pull in a little picture of a butterfly, and it can actually show like some motion of the flapping wings of the butterfly. To me, this is really neat as somebody who makes videos. We record content for the podcast all the time, but I'm also doing that for my students. And any way that you can make those things more visually interesting, I think will go a long way. So personally, I'm super glad to know that these guys are out there. Just remember, there's 2 of them, everybody. Video Effects is one, and Animator is the second. And you can just sort of investigate both of those if you're looking to basically animate some of the images that you have in your Canva designs.
Yeah, I really like the Animator one over the other one because it will actually make the butterfly flap its wings. That's cool. The other one, I mean, it's cool too, but think of that as like it's like you're doing a time lapse of someone drawing a butterfly. All right, so they draw the butterfly first, and then they draw a background to that butterfly and stuff like that. So that one's Video Effects. Video Effects does the step-by-step drawing, where Animator is actually making that butterfly that we just drew flap its wings, which is super cool. All right, so my next one, and this is one that I use a lot because I don't know if everyone knows this, but you can upload your PDF file into Canva, and then you can use an app called Can Sign, and you can actually sign your name onto that PDF, download it, and then send it back to the person that you need. So mine is Can Sign, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's almost like a DocuSign. It's a way to get around paying for a DocuSign. You upload it, you make a little box around where the signature part of that document is that you have to sign, and you can use your cursor to sign your name there. So it's pretty simple. I use this on my web pages and stuff like that, where I have my image at the bottom, like it's just a call out saying, hey, guess what? We're going to be here for this presentation or this conference to do these presentations. Come check us out. And it just has Nick's picture and my picture and our signature underneath. Just makes it a little bit more professional.
Yeah, or if you're like us and you work in Canva a lot and you've got some kind of a permission slip, for when we do our podcasting class, we need to have kids sign permission slips. You can run that over Canva so that all your stuff is happening in there rather than like a Google Docs or somewhere else or just an old school paper version. So that's a good one to know about. And we'll end it with this. It's called Type Cutout. This is pretty cool. If you're familiar with Canva, then you might be familiar with frames, which is a shape, and they've got tons of different shapes, but just picture maybe say like a circle. The circle is the frame, and you drag an image on top of the circle, and it basically crops the image to match that shape. So if you've got a square picture of a bicycle, you drag it onto the circular frame, and now your square bicycle is a circular bicycle image. These are very useful. They have frames that are in the shapes of letters, so you can have a letter A, drag a picture on top of it, and that picture is now in the shape of a letter A. But what they don't have in Canva is lots of different fonts for these frames. But that's what this next app can help you with, or at least help you get closer to. It's called Type Cutout. And basically, you can put in some text, you can choose a font, and then you can upload any image, and it is going to type out your text of choice very quickly for you, which is way faster than individually selecting a bunch of letter frames. It's going to automatically make basically like fill the, I don't know what you would call it, like fill those letters with your image. It basically turns your text into a frame. So if I wanted to have a fun and creative title for my next unit in chemistry, thermodynamics, I could choose any font that I want, type out the word thermodynamics, and then choose like a cool picture of like a giant fireball. And it'll do that for me, filling the word thermodynamics with this fireball image. It's really cool, and it's something that we see a lot of people try to replicate with these letter frames, but they have to drag in like the letter A, then the letter C to spell out whatever the word is that they want to fill. But this does it all at once, and it does it seamlessly, and it's very fast. So I know I don't know how common this is for like everybody, but me and you use this thing a lot because we do a lot of this type of design. But I think Type Cutout is definitely worth mentioning as a good time saver for some people that do a lot of designing things in Canva.
Yeah, so what I just did is I took the bald eagle that we did image Upscaler, and then I just put the letters to spell out cutout onto the slide. And I'm putting the eyeball right in the O in cutout.
That's cool.
And it's super easy because before we used to have to like do each individual letter, and we had to take a photo that we wanted, and we had to shift it over as we did each
so
letter.
That it matches. It's a pain.
But this looks really sweet. So I'm pretty pumped about this. And I can't wait to use this. It just brings, I don't know, another level of creativity to this whole project that we're doing here.
Yep, for sure. So that's a good one, and I think that's our last one. So like I said, we wanted to keep this short and to the point. I think we've done that. There's 10 of our favorite Canva apps. We hope that everybody was reminded maybe of some of the older ones and was excited to find some new ones. And I said this last time we did a Canva Apps episode. I'll say it again. This is a huge world of stuff that I don't know the number of like how many Canva apps there are, but it's seemingly never ending. And there's just so many cool things. Even while we were doing the show, as I was like searching different apps to test them out, I just kept seeing more. I was like, look at that. We should have talked about that one. So spend some time there, man. Next time you're in a Canva design, scroll down to where it says apps and have a look around, because I am confident you'll find some cool stuff. But that's going to wrap it up for episode 208. As always, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to the EdTech Throwdown. Do us a couple of favors. Subscribe to our podcast on any major podcast catcher such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, and Stitcher. Go over to YouTube, search the EdTech Throwdown, subscribe to the channel. You can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. The show's handle is EdTech Throwdown. You can connect with Guise at GuiseGotTech, Nick at NickGotTech. You can write us an Apple Podcast review. You can tell your friends about www.edtechthrowdown.com. And lastly, go over and check out our friends over at the Teach Better Podcast Network, a network that we are so proudly involved with. Until next time, remember, go try some EdTech because we will do the research so you can teach your class.